We're in the Techcrunch studio today with Bill Lee, who's CEO of Twist and a prolific angel investor. Bill, welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So tell us what your latest project and startup is.
You know, I'm the CEO and co-founder of a company called Twist. We raised $6 million in venture financing, primarily from Eric Hahn and Matthew Cowan of Bridgescale Capital. And what we're focused on doing is letting people know when you're on your way and when you're going to arrive.
Got it. And so people can download the application now, iOS and Android. And so just tell us basic functionality of what the application does.
Just to clarify, we launched iOS in July,
okay,
and we're about to launch Android very shortly here.
Okay.
So what was the follow-up question?
Oh, just at a basic level, what does the app do?
Right. So I think it might help. So Twist sprang out of a personal use case. Last year, I took over 200 meetings as an angel investor, and invariably someone was always running late, running early. I'd get like an SMS ping text that they were on their way, they were lost, stuck in traffic, where are you? Yeah. So I figured out there had to be a better way to solve that. Yeah. So I started realizing that on my way messages are happening today, but none of it is in a unified, seamless stream. And that's really what the iPhone product does today. It brings this all together, so an on my way message is easier and better than what you're currently out there on the market.
Right. And so, you know, as I've been using the product, what I think is really interesting looking at the market for other, mobile applications is the way you and your team have designed this. Each step seems to give you a better and better chance. So you've thought about a daily active use case, right? You've thought about doing one thing and doing it really well. You've thought about tying email to the address book, right? Can you talk us through like the formation of the idea? Because, okay, yeah, you said you had a lot of meetings, and you want to solve the problem using mobile in some way, but it also takes a lot of care to go through each of those steps. So just walk us through how the idea is formed and then how you made those very specific decisions.
Sure. Well, so as an angel investor, I've always tried to focus on being ahead of the next trend. So at its core, I first realized that there was exhaustion around solo-mo, and too many things around social, location, and mobile, and not enough utility tied to that. And so I didn't think it was important enough just to share your location. That to me has been done. It's important, I take that, it's been done, but I thought the future to move ahead of that was putting utility behind that. So that was kind of its genesis. It's like, how can we move from solo-mo to something not done before? And then with my experiences the angel investing, just waiting for people, I started seeing that mobile and GPS will let us go after time. And so Twist is really, where everyone else has been focused on, where, we've really been focused on when. So you build a product that tries to go after time, a new frontier, and then you paddle like hell to catch it. And I think the things you talk about are definitely at the core of what you need to have today to be successful in this mobile landscape. Yeah. And one of the things I think also very important to us was just that virality. And the product at its core has to be designed to go outbound. And that was something else that also excited me. And when you create your first twist, that user is inherently marketing for us. And it's sending to a new user that has never heard about the product a twist. And when they receive the twist, then they have to go and engage past that. So what were the other elements you mentioned? I can maybe speak to each one of those in particular.
I guess the daily active use case, which is obvious.
Correct.
Probably the main one, and trying to do one thing really well, right? Rather than having a Swiss Army knife.
Right. So amen. And when I first told people about Twist, a lot of the common responses was, oh, it's so obvious, or everyone, it just didn't quite seem to be compelling, and that actually inspired me even more. It's just like when you can take something that everyone's doing today, every day, and clean it up and move it off something that's happening just in an ununified system and bring it online. I think that's where you have the chances to reap very big returns. Now, don't come wrong, we have our challenges. For example, an on my way text is actually 3 texts into iMessage, OMW. So we have to really focus on building a product that is so simple, so beautiful to use, and that also has all these value-add benefits on top of that.
I guess there's some other things you've done that have been a little bit ahead of the trend. I guess one is it works as a background application, right?
Right.
So you set it to tie into the calendar, tie into SMS, tie into email, right? So you're not constantly having to open the app.
Right. Yeah, and I call that like the minimal onboarding by onboarding, I don't mean the tutorial, but the minimal onboarding process. You have to try and get as many points of light into your app that people are already using today and be synergistic, not parasitic, but synergistic to that experience. So you can create a twist from your calendar. You can start receiving twists over SMS. So we've tried to make it so that the product, you don't actually need the app to get the initial benefit out of the product, but as you start using the app, then you'll want all the bells and whistles that come along with it. So yeah, we definitely want minimal ways so people don't have to download this long process, go through a long extensive thing, or even explain. Like when you get a text from someone saying Bill's on his way, you get it.
Yeah.
That's my product doing its magic. It's not like, what is this?
So, and let's spend a little bit of time also talking about, you said something very interesting, that the product itself is sort of inherently viral, right? There's something in it, right?
Right.
So how did you get to that point, and why does that make Twist unique?
Well, one of the first things is like there were very few applications that I had familiar with where people welcomed an SMS. So people like want to get an SMS message that says they're on your way. Now, that to me was a unique opportunity and something that was also very exciting about this. And I've always felt why that, because SMS converts way higher than email. There is constantly, today already, email exhaustion, but what I see amongst people is that SMS is still another frontier that people are still paying high attention factor to. And people won't check their email as frequently as they'll check their SMS. That's my use case. Do you feel the same way?
I feel the same way.
You get an SMS and you're like, hello. So I would encourage other people to also bake in SMS where it's welcome. We never want to be in the spamming thing or annoying people. And so we give a lot of the milk, in the app that comes right in our initial SMS. High value. A user pays high attention to it. It gives you the most opportunity to get a further click through and sell your product after that.
Right. And so right now, I know you had mentioned you'd launch iOS. You're in the process of about to launch Android. I think when this airs, it'll already be out. So walk us through the steps of, how was it building for iOS? How did you then transition the team over to start building for Android? And then how do you think about the web and, let's say traditional browser, mobile browser, web?
Right. Okay. Well, the reason we actually started on iOS is because Android at the time was too fragmented. And so we made, back to your point about staying focused and doing one thing well, like we could have actually had Android and iOS at the same time, but we made a conscious decision that if you can't get it right on one platform and even understand what you really have, not to do the other one. So we chose iOS because it was standardized. It is kind of the obvious stuff. And the App Store has a nice process for apps to get, approved through it. So we went after iOS first, and that was actually very helpful. And when you start any startup, like there were so many ideas I got shelved for our on my way messaging and the way the product is designed, the layout, and it took iteration after iteration and iteration just to get what's currently in the App Store today. So went after the iOS first, and then we decided, this is kind of where you have to get lucky as a founder and a CEO and catch the next wave. We were hoping that Android would kind of like segment tighter. And that kind of has played out. Like Samsung, I think Galaxy S3 is going to be the big winner there. So we kind of rode the first wave of just let's get it right on iOS, in the background knowing that we always were going to have the Android app. Then we caught the S3 coming out. So our Android Twist is actually going to be focused around Android. By Android, I mean Samsung Galaxy S3 and Nexus, and the Galaxy Note kind of around the Samsung platform.
Okay.
And that was the big focus for why we did Android. The other thing,
so even just waiting those few months
right.
Enabled them to catch up to when you were ready.
Right. It's really paid off for us because I didn't have a clear vision of where the product should go a year ago. I knew the idea, but what it was actually going to feel like in the clicks and the usability, it wasn't really there for me. But I can see it now, and now it's much faster for us to replicate that base, put it over onto Android. And another thing that it's like we also believe that HTML5 is where we'd like the future to go. And we had a lot of debates and discussions.
That's kind of a contrarian opinion.
Yeah, Facebook, those guys are really smart, and they couldn't quite make it work, and I don't know the exact details why, just what I've read in the press, but I think that the openness, to me, I prefer openness, and I think we are going to see the right advancements where HTML5 can be done. That's obviously the startup programmer's dream. Like you write once, and your app can deploy on any mobile device. But we're realistic. That's coming. It's not there today, and so that's probably another point. make sure you raise enough money.
Yeah, I mean,
to survive.
you guys raised quite a bit of money for a
That's
mobile
right.
application.
That's right. And you know, having seen, like, you know, having worked with so many other founders, like, you see, like, you know, I think you should always, like, raise more when you can. You know, you've got to always be efficient.
So you have to
There's so many
eat
variables.
when the hors d'oeuvres are being passed.
Right. You know, I call it eat when served.
Yeah.
If it's there, you do it. And that's also something that, you know, has helped us as well.
Yeah.
So it's better to focus on your product. Like, who wants to raise $1 million and then 6 months later or 8 months and then have to go out and hit the road again? I mean, that's such a distraction. I see so many founders.
But do you mean at a
6
certain
months
point, like once you've built a product and gotten some feedback and then go out, or do you feel like, because I mean, you've been a seed investor, you know, very prolific for a long time, and you've seen things really up close. Like, had you wish in a lot of those things you had actually given them more money in some cases?
Well, the winners,
economics aside.
Yeah, there's ones I wish I'd put more money in that.
I guess where I'm coming from too is I've seen it on the other end where, you know, the doors are being passed, the founders take money, and then they start to limit their exit options, right? And so, and they haven't even come close to a product market fit.
Right. You know, I think you're absolutely, I mean, this is definitely not a science, and there is an art to this, and it matters, like, who your investors are. And I'm very fortunate that Eric Hahn and Matthew Cowan also funded my first startup 15 years ago. So high confidence in our investors. I know that they're interested in long-term as well as short-term goals. And you know, Jeff Skoll is also an investor. David Sachs is on our advisory board. So we think we've got the right people aligned. But you know, I think you're definitely right. It is very hard to generalize. And I've also seen what you've seen too, where the food is being served, you eat a little bit too much, and it definitely will foreclose and knock out opportunities. So you've just got to be very careful.
And so how is, over the last, you know, couple years, how has your angel investing pace changed or stayed the same, or your behavior to the market changing? Yeah,
well, definitely slowed down dramatically. There are, you know, Facebook has made so many people angel investors, and, you know, LinkedIn has gone out, Yelp has gone out. There are so many angel investors now in the space. And, you know, whereas an investment for me personally would be like $25,000 to $250,000, now I've decided to make more concentrated, larger bets. So, you know, focusing on $250,000 to $1 million, trying to work with a smaller network of people.
So moving away from these hyper syndicated rounds, where you like to be part of maybe 2-3 other investors.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And the rationale there is?
Just time is money, and you need to really focus on that. And in conjunction with that, like, you know, I feel like Twist is where my focus is. And I want to really be just nailing that instead of just trying to pursue other investments outside of that.
Got it. And any other investing trends you're noticing, or how you're trying to tune your activities there?
I still think, like, commerce opportunities around Twitter are kind of going to be exposed. I think we're going to see some interesting stuff there. I still think you're going to see a lot of Pinterest for X. And by Pinterest for X, I mean there's going to be commerce tied to photo sharing, tighter, probably more specific fields. Those are the two big things. I'm also a big fan still of, I think, you know, this is kind of going to sound weird, but I think Tesla Motors is still in its early days. I still think people don't get that when I talk about that. And I also still think another investment I did in addition to Tesla is SpaceX. I still think that is also another big trend. And there's going to be a lot that SpaceX is going to start that I think entrepreneurs should look at. And so is Tesla. There's going to be opportunities around each one of these billion-dollar companies.
So you're encouraging entrepreneurs to look at SpaceX and Tesla, for example, as more creating platforms.
Sure. Potentially one day you could be writing apps for cars designed inside that gorgeous 17-inch touchscreen there. And starting to think about, like, I'm on the test flight, so I've seen the Tesla app, and there's some innovative stuff coming. And I just think it's going to
Even from the software side.
Even from the software side. And cars are going to become connected internetwork. Cars are basically going to be moving iPads. Think of it that way, moving smartphones. And how to be part of that is something I'm still learning, and something that I think there's going to be an opportunity around that as well.
Awesome. Well, Bill, congratulations on launching Twist and all your success.
Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.